In this video, we're just going to be looking at about how budgetary policy can be used generally to improve equity or achieve a more equitable distribution of income. So just looking back, the goal of equity is threefold. It's about ensuring everyone has access to a sufficient income to achieve a dignified standard of living, that nobody's living in absolute poverty, and there is not huge or obscene inequalities in income and wealth. So basically, you've got to remember that it's not just about reducing the gap between low and high income earners, it's also about ensuring there are less people in absolute poverty and more people that can achieve a dignified standard of living. Generally, we refer to expansionary measures that are going to boost growth and boost employment as the best way to achieve an equitable distribution of income in the short term. So if we can get more people employed, less people relying on welfare, and fewer families living in absolute poverty, that's going to come about by trying to boost spending and boost employment in the economy. So anything that's going to try and increase growth, employment and incomes will help to achieve a more equitable distribution of income in the short term. And that comes about through getting people to spend more money, which will create jobs and means less people on welfare. Some policies, however, will be directly targeted at equity, and they're the policies I want you to refer to when you sort of analyse how this year's budget will impact on equity. So in the next video, we're going to discuss some of the key policies within this year's budget in particular that have had an impact on equity, so you can get an overall analysis of how this year's budget will impact on the equitability of the distribution of income. So before we do that, this is a really important table that basically summarises what the government can do to try and improve equity, a more equitable distribution of income in regards to different types of income. So if the government is targeting market income, they're going to be trying to get people into work. That's how we make the market income more equitable. So they might be putting money into skills training or giving subsidies to workers or employers so that they will hire unemployed citizens and therefore getting more people back into work, and therefore they'll be earning a market income as opposed to living on transfer income. So they're things that are going to improve access to market income, anything that's going to get people more employable and back into work. Things that will hurt market income are things like cutting TAFE spending or cutting money spent towards education or training, which will make people less employable. So market income, the first one, can only be achieved a more equitable distribution by getting people into work. The next one, gross income, again, that's all about cash support that the government's providing. So if they're giving more people access to welfare benefits or increasing the size of the pension or increasing disability pensions, then all of that will help to improve a more equitable distribution of income, of gross income. If they're cutting family tax benefits or they're indexing the pension to inflation, for example, which means that the pension will grow up slower, that's going to lead to a less equitable distribution of income for gross income. So last year what they did is they cut the pension for high income earners and raised the pension for low income earners, so that made it more equitable distribution of income for pensioners. Any means testing, so if we're means testing things like the baby bonus or family tax benefits or the pension, all of that kind of stuff will make it a more equitable distribution of income for gross income because they're cash payments that people are receiving. So remember, means testing helps to achieve a more equitable distribution of income. Disposable income, things that can help, raising marginal tax rates, so basically increasing the progressive nature of the tax system so that low income earners are paying less tax and high income earners are paying more. Increasing the tax-free threshold, so low-income earners don't have to pay tax on a higher, they can earn more before they have to start paying tax. Increasing the LITO, the low-income tax offset is basically, it's quite a complex thing, but basically if it increases, it means that low-income earners will end up paying less tax. It's kind of amount of money that you have to earn before you start paying tax. It's like the tax-free threshold. So whenever you see the term increase in the low-income tax offset, it basically means that low-income earners will pay less tax. Other things that they can do to make it more equitable, they can give superannuation co-contributions. So when low-income earners put money into their super, they can top them up and the government can match that with contributions themselves. The budget repair levy is another example. That's something that can make disposable income more equitable. So if the budget repair levy was a 2% tax levied on people earning over $180,000, that helped to make the disposable income more equitable because high income earners paid more tax. Social wage income, we're looking at indirect benefits. So if we're providing childcare subsidies, particularly to low income earners, that will help. Freezing the Medicare like they did in this year's budget, will be bad because people will be paying more to go see the doctor, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next video about what that means. Any cuts in funding to public housing will hurt social wage income. Any money put towards education in the short term and helping reducing the costs for parents putting their kids through schools will help to achieve a more equitable distribution of social income because they'll be paying less on education. And then we've got final income. Final income is all your indirect taxes. So if we increase the GST, that will make final income less equitable because they're regressive taxes. Any broadening of the GST base, so if we were to put the GST on like basic products, so necessities like bread and milk and fruit, then that would hurt equity because they're regressive. Increasing excise taxes, so on cigarettes, tobacco, alcohol, can hurt equity. Increasing the luxury car tax, that was the only one that will help equity in terms of final income because only high income earners will be paying that tax. Just something to be mindful of. Basically, even though these ones will only affect final income, all of these policies in all 5 categories are going to affect final income because final income is after everything. So just because it doesn't need to be one of these 4 things to actually make the distribution of final income more equitable or less equitable. Anything we do to any of these other columns will also affect final income because final income is after all cash payments and cash benefits received by the government. Past exam questions, we looked at this one in class. It's also possible that you will need to analyse the overall impact of the discretionary policies within a budget and how they will affect the income distribution. So we're going to talk about that in the next video.